Hi, you are seeing the art of Beth Bathe at Gallery222. It's Andrea Strang. Please join us. We're going to be live for the next 30 minutes. And we have a wonderful show I want everybody to see. You can go online at Gallery222, Malvern.com, or you can come see me. We have normal hours. I'm here from Wednesday to Saturday, 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So please come see me. The three artists here that are showing to this show are physically here to talk about their work right now. So we have Beth Bathe, Athena Scott, and Wendy McClatchy. I always get nervous with names, I'm sorry. So let's start with Beth, and her room, as you can see, is just so well done. Her room was so easy to hang, and her work, she has a signature look. So Beth, you use oil, but they're water-based?
Yes, I use water-mixable oil paints. Okay. So even though they're painted like a traditional oil painting, they sometimes have a look of a watercolor.
Yes. I had a collector come in when I was hanging yesterday and pretty much was looking and then said, what is this? Like, what is the medium? Like, it's
I love that. I sometimes stood behind in a gallery and I just, people will watch and they'll say, what the heck is she doing? So that's really cool. So it's a different, and I'm also a reductive painter. This painting is a real good to show. I'll do these washes and then I use different rubber squeegees, and here where the slats are of the barn, I pull away with the rubber squeegee and it lifts the paint off. And so that's how I sometimes get these really crisp architectural elements. But then there's areas here where it's dripped, where I'll leave and it's like a birch tree. So a lot of times the natural world happens just on its own with the drips.
Oh, that's wild. I know I've had two artists that come in just to see your show, and they know your work, and they've commented on a lot of tools. When you paint, you have an arsenal of tools.
Yes, I have a lot of tools, a lot being, fingers and paper towels, and but I do use a lot of like rubber squeegees. And then because I use water-soluble oil paints, I use synthetic watercolor brushes.
Okay.
So explain, like this color right here.
Yes.
How are you getting that? Doing reductive, or how are you?
No, that's I come in with the paintbrush.
Okay.
And so a lot of times what I do is I'll start kind of with a monochromatic underpainting. My main color is raw umber, ultramarine blue, and Payne's gray. And some of my paintings, that's all it is. But then I'll go and I'll build up, with other colors or glazes.
Now, Andrea, do you know she doesn't sketch beforehand?
No, I just figured you did because.
No.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, basically, I start, first of all, my panels, I paint on masonite boards that I gesso. And if you look real close, see these kind of brush strokes you'll see? I paint them in a way so that the panel itself starts very painterly. Because I paint so thin and I'll wipe away, I want you to see those edges, those ridges. So it starts to look real painterly.
Yes.
So before I even put a mark down on the board, the panels are prepared.
Well, you must have just an eye for perspective.
Well, I was a graphic designer for 30 years.
Oh, that explains it.
And so I could really draw. And so, it just, I do know perspective and drawing.
Yeah, that's wild. So another comment from someone who visited the gallery was it's reminiscent of Wyeth, like the,
Yes.
And explain your...
I love Andrew Wyeth.
Yes.
Andrew Wyeth, even though he did egg tempera, and if you look really close, he's painting every blade of grass, he renders. I do mine in a more kind of, washed out, but I love, Andrew Wyeth was called a regionalist, which meant he painted of his area. He never went to France, or he painted in Chadsford, Pennsylvania, and he painted in Maine, where his two houses were. And he, got to know the people, got to know the area, and I feel the same. same way. Even when I go to plein air events, I really want to get to know the area and the feel of that, you know, and Pennsylvania here is just
Gorgeous, yeah.
this is Thompson Mill, which is in Newtown, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
It's a mill from the late 1700s. A lot of times I paint what I call the vanishing landscape. I really like old architecture. I like old barns. Sometimes they might be falling apart. The one we talked about earlier isn't standing anymore. So I really love to capture something and know that I have, you know, I captured it for history.
You knew it was there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. So I first heard of you through plein air events that's local, the Wayne Plein Air.
Yes.
And then, of course, I started to research you, and you, well, I know this year is different.
Yes.
But how many, on a normal year,
On
how
a-
many events do you do plein air?
On a normal year, I probably do 11 to 13 national events.
Wow.
And I'll do maybe 3 or 4 or 5 local events.
Oh,
So
that's wild.
last year, I was actually on the road for almost 5 months.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I should explain for people who don't know, you need to either be invited or juried in. So the fact that you have entered and been accepted to all those exhibits is amazing in and of itself.
Well,
but
can
then
you
I'm sure you
can you
win.
explain what juried means to those people who may not know?
It's really just judged. You know, there's usually a panel or maybe just one juror, and pretty much looks at your body of work and see if you're a good fit for the exhibit, the plein air competition. And usually it's a competition where there's prizes.
Yes.
And we're not going to go through all your
Yes.
prizes. You usually, that's how I knew your name, because you are definitely award-winning artist. So you are definitely a well-known name in that world. But this wall I loved hanging because it was a tad quieter, and I just really love the serenity of this wall.
This wall is very representational of my plein air pieces, like you know, like my pieces from Wayne.
Yeah.
This one here is Abington, Virginia. This is down in Appalachia. This is an old abandoned farmhouse.
Yeah.
And I just love it when I paint a lot in the early morning when mist is coming off the water and you see the cows in the background. But again, this is just Payne's gray, ultramarine blue, and burnt sienna here. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll pick one little accent color, like the burnt sienna, or here these crock and spoons. I just colored the spoons.
Yeah.
That's Landis Valley Museum in Lancaster.
So
this is actually somewhere near here. I'm not sure. It's in Chester County. I don't remember what the name is. And then this one is Door County, Wisconsin.
This one is my favorite. I told you that. Just
Yes.
going through it. I didn't know what size it was. And I just loved when I was going through your pictures online. I was like, oh, this is darling.
A lot of times I love, throwing in an American flag. And again, that'll be the only touch of color. Like the one painted over there was the barber pole. Or sometimes it'll be a kid's hat or something. So just a little touch of color. Sometimes I like them to look like old sepia tone photos, back in the day when they would hand tint them.
Yes.
Oh, and another thing about my paintings is I very rarely paint anything of, modern cars or modern, because I want people to think this could be grandma's time. This could be, they're very nostalgic.
Yes. That's lovely.
Like they'll say, that looks like grandma's house. Or,
yes. So these two I thought were more on the colorful end, which I love.
Yes, this one I just painted about 2 weeks ago, the one on the bottom. And this one was painted early in the spring. I'm starting to add a little more color. This is for Paint Annapolis. This is the only plein air event that actually was live this year.
Wow.
So it was really nice. So what I'll do is I will go in with my transparent underpainting And then I went in with some of these more opaque blues for this water, this creek here.
Yes, it's gorgeous. Well, now you're coming to one of my favorites.
Lucky 13.
Oh, I love this because I don't know. I just feel like it's so atmospheric. And I love the colors that this painting brings. I just feel like it just. In fact, this is what prompted me to text you. Can you paint more boats?
Yes.
Because I just love this scene.
This was painted Long Beach Island, New Jersey.
Oh wow!
And I was there for a plein air event, and they have a Long Beach Island is a barrier island, so they have like a bay area, and so I just hung out a couple afternoons for their. These are all little sailboats, like in a class, and everybody was already out there. And this number 13 boat, he was trying to get out there, so he was late. So I just thought it was great, and it just the reflection of that, that fence, and it just was really pretty. It was kind of almost that golden hour before sunset, so the water started to turn kind of the pinkies and.
Oh wow, that is just beautiful. That is so beautiful. So please, anyone who's watching, you can ask a question in the comments. I know we have Jan Ware out there watching and Christy Gilfillan. So hi girls.
Hi girls.
Hopefully you're sitting there enjoying this with a glass of wine in your hand. But this next one is definitely going to be a crowd favorite. It's the little pig, and that's one of the things I did ask for too. I said, chickens and pigs.
Chickens and pigs. So I love this little piggy. There was just something about it. It was a whole little group of pigs, and I take a lot of photos too, and I sketch a lot. And this little pig just happened to turn, and that light, the big backlit coming through his ears was just a rock star. So again, here's an instance where it's pretty monochromatic, other than the pink.
Yeah.
And the magenta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but just even his little face and his little eyes, like he looks like he's just.
Isn't he cute? And they were really little. I don't know how old piglets are, but they're just cute as can be.
I don't want to say it looks like my dog, but I have a French bulldog, kind of looks like a French
But that
bulldog.
those hairs, the light
Yes.
is so cute.
Yes.
And then this one, a lot of time at plein air events, people are like painting these big vistas, and I'm standing in a tree. Like I'm painting like the cherries or a bee on a flower. Or I think sometimes there's just as much beauty in the smaller thing.
Mm-hmm.
And these apples were just, right at the time when they need to, be picked. And the way the light was on them, I just thought it was just, stunning.
Yeah, it really is beautiful. And then the last, but not least, sunflowers. They're always.
Everybody's got to paint sunflowers in summer.
And you do it so well.
Yes.
And I love just the background of that you chose.
And
it
this is so
pops it.
This is so different. Here's your classic still life sunflower, and then I have the sunflower over here, which is the last bloom sunflower.
Yes, yeah. So we have two choices if you
Yeah.
want sunflowers. So Gallery222, Malvern.com. Literally a couple clicks and it's yours. If you're local, I can drop it, no contact delivery. You can come in and pick it up, or I can ship it. So we're gonna go now to, thank you, Beth. This was
Thank
lovely.
you so much, you guys. Thank you.
This is Athena Scott. Love her. Athena came to me from a very dear friend who just loved her work. I looked her up and was blown away. So you can see why I was blown away. She is a talent. Presently, you're working on your MFA.
Yes, I'm in my first year MFA right now.
Yes.
First couple of weeks.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a lot.
Yes.
But I'm excited about it.
Yes. Well, now your undergrad is at PATH, right?
No, actually, I went to the Art Institute.
Oh, the Art Institute, right.
For web design.
Oh.
So I actually have been doing like web design and graphic design for like the last
Oh my God.
I guess
Well,
14 years or something like that. So this is something that I was doing kind of
on the
on the
side.
side for myself, and then I just decided to kind of just like focus more on that.
Oh my gosh. Well, please focus. because this is gorgeous, gorgeous work.
Thank you.
Now I know the Philadelphia mural project there.
Yeah, so there's been a lot happening with me.
Yeah.
I think last year when I just finally decided to kind of focus more on my like portraits and painting, I applied to graduate school, and I also applied for a studio at Cherry Street Pier.
Okay.
And thinking that I would get one or the other.
Yes.
And I wound up getting both of them.
Fantastic.
So it was just kind of like, oh wow, I found out in the same week.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I can't let these opportunities go.
No.
So I've been kind of doing Cherry Street in school at the same time, and then there's an opportunity to apply for a fellowship with the Mural Arts of Philadelphia, and I got that as well.
And I'm not surprised.
So it's been an interesting couple of months, and I'm just kind of going along for the ride and seeing where it takes me.
Yes. Well, let's talk about both of these. I just love that you have the quotes,
Yeah.
and it's just so edgy and urban, and I've never seen it.
Yeah. Well, I think too. For me, like the end result is great, but I think a lot for me right now with painting is like the process, because I may be in a certain mood and I look for inspiration.
Yes.
And so Ali and Maya Angelou are just inspiration, like individually.
Yes.
So depending on the day, especially the nothing can dim the light, which sun shines from within. Like sometimes you're just having like a bad week. And you just need something to kind of pick you up and remind you to kind of just keep pushing forward. So
Especially this year.
Yeah.
Well, and you say a lot of your paintings you're looking for hope.
Yeah, so it's like hope. It's just a reminder that like things are gonna be okay.
Yes.
We all could use that.
Yeah,
I know.
and that whatever the situation, you can work through it. You just have to keep reminding yourself that you're strong enough and you can make it happen.
Right.
So a lot of times I try to look towards like positive kind of reinforcement that like what I'm doing is okay.
Right. Well, I have to mention these 3 smaller pieces. I had them on the table, and I had a couple things shifted, and these 3 needed their own space.
Yeah.
They are powerful. So that's why I backed everything up just to give them the space that they need. And I swear, like when I walk through this room, they catch my eye.
These are like more of my like later pieces. I'm starting to get into like moving off of like paper and canvas and trying to find other materials to create on.
Yeah.
So you have like 2 wood panels, and then there's the one in the center is kind of like a wood brown that still has like the bark on the side. So I played around for that one, I played around with a burn tool. And so everything is kind of like burned into the wood.
Wow, that's so
and
cool.
then just to give it some more color, I went over it with like acrylic and added a little like oil stick.
Oh, wow.
And it was just me playing around.
Yeah.
A lot of times I just buy stuff and had it sitting there, and then when I get inspired, I'll just pick it up and see what I can do with it.
Well, when I show you again, I want a whole series of those.
I was actually working on one of the panels today.
Very cool.
The wood is fun to paint on.
Yeah, and then this is exquisite.
Oh, thank
Love
you.
her.
Thank you so much. This is actually the first piece that I did at Cherry Street.
Really?
So in my studio, there's the windows that I guess passerbys can kind of see you working.
Yes.
And so I'm so nervous about people watching me that I actually have my back towards the window, so they're actually like watching me paint.
Yes.
But I just got really into this one. I think it just made me, I guess, calm me down for being in this new space and kind of like relax me. Again, it told me that it was going to be okay.
Yes.
Just because it was coming out the way that I wanted it to.
Yes, and well, you know what I think that works so well is just her, her hand or her neck. It's a natural placement, and it actually feels comfortable. I feel like she's comfortable.
Right, and so again, it goes back to me just trying to make myself comfortable in a new space, a new environment.
Yes.
Well, comfortable in her own skin.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, like that.
Yeah.
For some reason, and I don't know art, but looking at it, you can just tell she like just sighed.
Yeah.
And just went, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know.
So I think too, once I decided that it was done, that was the feeling that I had. Like, I'm good, and
Love
this is going to be a good thing.
Yeah. And then we're on to Prince.
Prince
is.
And he's a special person in my heart. I love music, and he's like one of like those like main people I go to, just to kind of either rock out or just like chill to. His face is just very intense.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. It is the whole
His
thing
eyes,
is
it
intense.
just kind of just draws you in. Actually, when I kind of started painting again, which was like, a couple of years ago, this was one, I think the Maya and Prince were like the first two that I started with.
Love it.
So this one kind of has a special place in my heart.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Did you paint this before or after he passed?
This was, I believe this may have been maybe just after. Yeah.
It's just beautiful. And again, his hands.
Mm-hmm.
The hands are very hard to paint.
They are.
And you do them well.
That's a nice compliment because I feel like I'm still working on that.
Yeah. I think they're fabulous. Yeah.
It's I'm figuring out a way to kind of work hands in, like to where it works with my style.
I think it adds a natural feeling to your portraits.
I gotta
They're
back
not-
up because this is a kablam
I
wall.
know,
You know what I mean? This is
I know.
kablam.
That is. So let's start.
Yeah, it's just like I think too the poses that I choose. I kind of like to have people in kind of a natural like state, like a relaxed kind of state. More just I guess instead of like having that like right on like smiling with teeth and all that. Like I just like to see people kind of in like a natural state.
Yes.
I just feel like that's just more kind of like in like authentic feeling.
Right.
Well, it feels like you're also getting to know them a little bit more
Yeah.
than you would otherwise.
Yeah,
like
I
you.
have a thing about eyes. Eyes are like my favorite thing on a portrait, and a lot of times that's what I start with.
Yeah.
Is the eyes, and I work my way out. It's just kind of, I just kind of want to capture that feeling because I feel like that's the center of the energy or the person's spirit.
Right. And then.
This is my guy. This is James Baldwin.
Yes.
James Baldwin has been quite popular these days because he's just been his words, kind of from the 60s to now, they fall right into place.
Yes.
And I just find his words just so inspiring. And it's just a reminder of just just keep pushing forward and keep trying to make things like better.
Yes. Yeah. And he was
you
all
know,
about that.
And just recognizing and seeing what's happening, and it's like trying to really think of things of like how you can change what's going on and stuff like that. So he was good for calling things out, and I appreciate about him. That person, very honest, but honest in a way that was caring, because he cared about us.
Yes.
So he's one of my favorite.
And he was always with a cigarette too.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite subjects. I actually have a few drawings that I've done of him. I think I've drawn him so many times to actually kind of like know his face.
Yes.
So
For paintings that you do with the words, and I realize this may be silly, but are the words going in last? Do you know the words that you're putting in? What's the order? Taking a look at this, it seems almost to me like where you put the words are almost just as important
The
So
words-
it's kind of,
Actually, like with the three that we showed, I didn't have any intention of adding the words. Like the quote was in my head,
Yeah.
but it was just more so me concentrating on the portrait, and it was just like, it's just something happened at the end where it was just like I just needed to put that there, and
you went with your gut and it was a
yeah,
smart move.
like, yeah. So like I don't do it all the time, but when the urge hits me or whatever, I just felt like that's what I needed to do to close it out.
Yeah, lovely. And then this one's very powerful too.
Yeah.
Profile, so it's different from.
Miss Fearless, it's just a strong, you know, pose and expression, and I think the day that I did this, I was just in one of those moods where I just felt like I could just do anything.
Right, right.
Greens and blues and all that stuff is not really my natural colors to kind of go towards, and so usually actually when I start a canvas or a portrait, I start with like a base color. I don't know what I'm gonna do or anything. I just paint like green, and then I kind of just go from there. So I don't really have like a plan on what colors I'm gonna use.
Well, in the video that we ran today, or was it yesterday? You said that honestly, it all depends on your mood of the day.
Yeah. So I like I said earlier, I listen to like a lot of music. So that also helps me kind of get that energy out. And I think a lot of times with the color choices that I make, it's actually kind of the music kind of flowing through me.
Yeah.
And
That's wonderful.
just kind of just putting it all out there.
Well, it's a beautiful collection.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Athena, and really make this your main gig. Okay, no
Thank you
side
so much.
hustle.
I appreciate
This
it.
is it,
I'm
girl.
gonna try.
Yes. So now we're going to Wendy McClatchy's room. Wendy, I've had her art on my walls a few times through group shows. Know her and love her. She is local, which I love, and she's a pastel artist. And for those who don't know pastels, you'd probably be better at explaining. I mean, it's really chalk in a sense.
It's pigment and chalk.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. So, and you handle it so well. Especially
trying, yes. It's always a learning curve, always.
Yeah, and I
It's
love.
a fun medium.
Yes, when I was talking to you about what we're going to show at Gallery222, I said I love your white still life series, and we're looking at it right now. I just love. I think whites are the hardest thing to paint, and you really have to be a true artist to see all the colors that are in white. And you handle it beautifully.
Thank you.
So is it your favorite still lifes to do? Or you just, were you drawn?
Yes, I paint what I love, and I love blue and white enamel, and I love shells, and I love lace, and I've been fascinated with the stack sheets and all the different values that are in those stack sheets. So it almost started as a practice for me to practice up on my seeing different values.
Yeah.
And then I just got fascinated with it. So.
Yeah, well, it's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. I was so excited that you had some.
I had a few.
Yes. I was like, yes. But I do, and then I've seen this, and I love this. The shells, again, they look shiny, like they look pearled, iridescent. They're just beautiful.
Thank you.
And the lace on the table is just phenomenal. And the glass you use is a non-glare, correct? I mean,
Yes.
you can,
It's acrylic. Generally, it's an acrylic. It's museum quality, but it is non-glare.
yeah, and I think that makes a big difference.
And I moved to the acrylic, and there is glass, of course, that's non-glare and UV protected. But I find when I ship to shows, The acrylic, they're starting to ask for you to ship with the acrylic because it doesn't break.
Oh, yeah.
Even though we have to use special boxes and all that kind of thing.
So, and then this one, I love this still life, a little bit more colorful, but there is a lot going on. I love it. And it takes you a while to sit there and say, oh wow. It's called the Students' Table, and the pinned up painting in the back, you know, I think is so cool. Because so many artists work that way. They have something that inspires them to paint, and or they're working on it, and there could be 2 or 3 things pinned up, and I just love this. You captured this so well. Thank you. So now you also do a lot of pastel. You're in a lot of exhibits, shipping things like you said.
Well, not during the COVID, yes.
I
We've
know.
all gone online, which is definitely safe shipping.
Yeah, that's true. But you're
yes,
sought after
definitely,
for your pastel work, for sure.
Yeah.
So, and I love this series. So this, we actually had a commission last year. You took one of the smaller pieces. A couple loved your smaller piece, but then they wanted it I forget the size of it, 16 by 20 or even larger.
Larger.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 40 by 30, I think it was big.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
it barely fit in the studio.
And it was beautiful. But I just love you. How long have you done? Have you always done ocean? Because I've only seen them like the last time you showed here.
Usually water is somewhere in my landscapes,
Okay.
but the storms are a series that I wanted to do, emotional expression. Of moving through, being in the middle of a storm and then moving through.
Yeah.
It always ends.
Yes, it does.
Kind of like
So-
2020.
It's
Yeah.
gonna come to an end, hopefully.
Right.
Well, it's beautiful. It is just, it's even though it's a storm on the horizon, there is a peacefulness to it, to your work. And
Now,
that's
do you take
beautiful.
pictures of? Like,
Yes.
how do you do these that are storms? Because
Yes, they some of them are from Avalon, New Jersey, some of them are from Florida, and there's a few storms from the Caribbean.
You can tell the different color in the
yeah,
water.
I would say the Sea of Change was definitely not an Avalon.
Yes, exactly.
You'd be right.
Yes, beautiful. And then I love, this is one of my favorites. I felt like this was kind of a standout piece in this collection, and I wanted to highlight it. I just love this, the reflection of the apples. I just love it.
Yes, Island 5.
Yeah, and again, it's on the white background, which is lovely. And I love your choice of frame.
Thank you.
You know, you really have a great eye for framing.
Yeah, I like doing the reflections of things so that you don't see a table, but you know that there's a solid surface there. So
Yeah,
that's
love that.
that's a fun challenge.
Yes, you did that so well. And I love these. This is your landscape-ish things. I love
Yes.
the outside. Just the colors that you picked up are beautiful.
I live in Willistown, so you know all I have to do is walk down the street, and I have beautiful fields and all kinds of change in season. So
Yes.
I'm very lucky that way.
Oh my goodness. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So I should mention, everything is online at Gallery222, Malvern.com. A couple clicks. If you like it, it is yours. I can do no contact delivery. You can come in to see us. We do have hours, Wednesday through Saturday, 11 to 5, or I can ship it. So I love these last 3 are just, I love your landscapes too. You know, you have a great range. Your
I
first
just love it all, so
Yes.
I just paint what I love.
And your first love was photography, correct?
Yeah, I have always loved photography, for
Mhm.
sure. So
Well, you have a great eye because
it's
that's
fun to take a bunch of photographs that I have already. I have maybe 12,000 photographs.
Wow.
and remember places I've been. There's an emotional response. Sometimes I'll combine several photographs into one painting. It depends.
Yeah, well, I love it. And I think that's like your eye is trained, being a photographer, to actually capture, to put a strong composition together while you paint.
It really is very helpful, for sure.
Yeah.
Learning about compositions and what works, what doesn't.
Well, this is beautiful, Wendy. We're going to come to a close. Come see me, Gallery222, Malvern.com, online. Come see me in person, Wednesday through Saturday, 11 to 5. This is a really great show. I know I say that all the time, but the artists work all year long to get ready for a show, so please come out and support them. This is definitely a show to see. So thank you so much.